you start.
Tom, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to this wonderful Mobile sunny morning here. Happy to be with you. I guess some of you have received a briefing already this morning, so I'm not really sure what I should talk about, but I will talk a little bit about the history, if I may, of this place. I mean, we've come here, well, I remember it was also January, pretty chilly. In 2006, we did the first groundbreaking here in Mobile. That time it was the engineering center. I remember that at that point of time we had quite a few people in our company who were questioning the need for an engineering center in Mobile. No longer. This engineering center has turned out to be very efficient, a very important contributor to our overall engineering in Airbus. Next thing was that we were obviously competing for tanker, up and down, back and forth. We finally lost that in 2011, as most of you who are old enough will remember. And then we scratched our head and said, damn it, we've invested so much capital in this relationship. And the folks down here have invested so much into us. All the support we've received here, that cannot be all for nothing. And I really have to say, I mean, I'm almost 30 years in the aerospace business, seen many places. I've not discovered any place in Europe or Asia, elsewhere, that has been that welcoming, friendly, supportive as down here the Alabamans and Mobile in particular. So the solution then finally was, and it had been sitting in front of us all the time, the US is the largest single-aisle market of the world, at least it was in 2012. Maybe China has surpassed it a little bit at that point. We say we should set up camp here for producing single-aisle aircraft. And again, there were folks in the company, as normal, every company said, do we really need that? Don't we have enough capacity in Hamburg, in Toulouse, in Tianjin? Well, I would say that was back in 2012 when we did the groundbreaking. Almost 7 years on, nobody questions that anymore. Darrell Taylor and his team have done an outstanding job here. Talk to the US airline representatives today, that you will find, and you'll see that we are delivering great aircraft from here, and certainly can do even more in the future. And what is most important, we had a discussion at the time, well, will this really help us with the market share in the North American market? And I can't give you a figure here, but some people could, and I tell you, I mean, if we look at the market share in the last 5-6 years or so on single aisle, to put it mildly, not to embarrass our competitor, it has increased very, very significantly. So this is the story of Mobile, and if we hadn't invested back in 2012, there certainly wouldn't be a groundbreaking today for the 220. And it was when we did the deal with our Canadian friends that it was obvious from the first minute, so to say, that we should really produce this aircraft also in the United States. In times of protectionism and nationalism and tariffs and so on, but also because the single largest market for this wonderful 220 is North America. Well, I'll give you a bit of a wider perspective. We are, present in North America, obviously beyond Mobile. On the helicopter side, Guillaume had an active role in that, in Grand Prairie, in Columbus, Mississippi, engineering centers in Wichita, down here. I visited yesterday the OneWeb satellite manufacturing facility in Cape Canaveral. Ladies and gentlemen, that's an outstanding facility. This is the first satellite manufacturing facility worldwide that will mass produce satellites with a capacity of 300 to 400 satellites a year. So this is a new chapter in space, and I'm very happy that we are going to be an important part of it as well. And I guess Jeff has given you a more detailed briefing about our presence. I'd conclude by saying, and some of you know that one of the things that were most important for me during my tenure at the helm of EADS and Airbus has been internationalization, making that an even more internationally deployed company. And I think if you look at what we've done in the last 10, 15 years in America and other places in the world, it is a much more international company today, and I still think that there is much to do in the coming years. Internationalization done the right way. Internationalization the right way means for me sharing. Sharing with partners, sharing with local communities, employment, technology, success. This is, I think, the success story that Airbus has brought to the United States and is experiencing in the United States and other parts of the world. And I'm very happy to be here today for what is definitely, Guillaume, my last groundbreaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for this introduction. Thank you as well for your determination over the last 10 years and more to make this happen. Obviously, it's not only you, but it was mainly driven by you, and we all thank you for that. We are very proud of what you will see today and the achievement of the FAL of the single aisle in Mobile. And obviously, we're here to celebrate the groundbreaking of the 220 FAL, but as well to congratulate the teams for all what they've achieved in a very short period of time and how much they contribute. And they contributed in 2018 to the growth and the success of Airbus, and that's very important. We really like the way Airbus is growing, here in the US and for North America. It's part of the Airbus culture and DNA to rely on diversity of skills and experiences and cultures around the world. And what has been achieved here in the US for Airbus Commercial here today in Mobile, but for those of you yesterday that were in Columbus, where we had another very large success and another experience that we are really proud of. This is the way we like to grow. This is the way we like to, serve the market, but as well support the communities and bring people together all around the world. Our planes are connecting people, but we like the idea to connect people as well inside Airbus with our partners to grow and to serve the communities. So that's basically why we're here today. We are very happy. It's a very exciting journey. The team has done very well. The teams have done very well, and now we have new challenges. So it's good to have projects to be able to celebrate, but as well to look forward and look for more. And as Tom said, yes, we're very happy to be with a new child, with a new plane, with a 220. That's a great plane, and there's a lot to be done. So I'm sure there will be a lot of questions to Philippe for the 220. Thank you.
We're pleased now to take your questions. We do not have a floating microphone today, so I'll ask you, for the benefit of your colleagues, to use your outside voices, so to speak. Who has the first question? Sir.
Okay. This new aircraft, I'm told, is supposed to be something to compete with the already operating Embraer 190, 195 series and the 300, 500 series of the 737. What do you feel is going to make this product something that an airline would prefer over those other two models?
Philippe?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yes, this aircraft has been designed specifically for that market segment. As you know, it's a brand new aircraft. Economics are way superior, double-digit benefit versus the competition. And comfort is unbeatable, and all the feedback we get from the existing operators is wonderful. I mean, what I heard from Air Baltic and Swiss when I just came in was how happy they were with the performance of the aircraft and how happy they were with the comfort that they bring to the passengers. So we think we have a very, very good product there.
Before we take our next question, I'll request that you just state your name and your media outlet for the benefit of the others in the room who may not have met you. Scott Hamilton.
Scott Hamilton with Leham News. Guillaume, this will be for you. When the Airbus C-Series deal was announced, I had asked Tom, what's the future of the A319? And Tom's response at that time was, well, the lack of sales pretty well tells the picture. As the new CEO and waiting for Airbus Group, what is your view about the future of the 319 and product strategy?
So the 319 is part of a family of products which have a lot of things in common. As you know, we plan slots, production slots for the family, and we're very happy to have the 220 to be able to address the low end of the market, the low end of the single line market, while we can concentrate our slots for the 320 and the 321. So it helps a lot. Yes, there's competition between the two products, but in some cases the 319 still has a superiority in some cases, so we still see a place for the 319. And basically we don't see it as a problem, as it's on the customers to choose, and we do our very best to fulfill their expectations. So in a nutshell, there will be less 319s with the A220 in the range that we would have done else, but we still keep the product, and we maintain the commonalities with the 320, 321, and it continues to make a lot of sense to have the 19 in the product range.
Addison?
Addison Schonland, Air Insight for Philippe. Is there, as you look at the 220-100 and the 220-300, is there consideration to create a business jet out of the 220 to compete with, let's say, the BBJ or the ACJ?
Well, there is a possibility to do some corporate jets with the 220. We will see whether we do that or not, but it's an option which is possible, yes.
Tim Neefer.
Excuse me for changing the subject, but you can't ignore Brexit. You've been very vocal. You've had a very important voice on this, Tom. Theresa May's plan lost by a historic margin last night. Will you be forced to increase your contingency planning for a hard Brexit? And what would that mean for Airbus?
Well, we've been on that path already for quite some time, Tim, and we will certainly not change course. We carry on with our preparations and where possible accelerate them, planning for the worst and hoping for the best. That's what we do. In other words, I think there's still a chance for maybe not a happy end, but a outcome that keeps Britain closer to the EU than many people hitherto thought possible.
And could I just follow up? There were reports of a conference call between ministers and major industries last night. Have you had any assurance privately from British authorities or ministers that there will not be a no-deal Brexit, that there will be some kind of deal?
I wouldn't say assurances, but I would say ministers have expressed a certain degree of optimism that a no-deal Brexit would not happen.
My colleague Mathieu has secured a microphone, so I'll ask for your help in passing that to your colleagues. Next question from John.
John Hemmerdinger, Flight Global. I wonder if you could, we can move this a little more broadly, and there have been some negative signs of consumer confidence, economic movement forward, and I'm wondering if you have seen anything economic-wise that concerns you in your business, commercial business, and how that might translate next year, whether orders might be able to match or exceed deliveries.
Well, let me say, obviously we follow very closely what's happening politically and economically around the world. We're a global business, but different from many other businesses. We have a very considerable, not to say huge, order backlog in most of our products, and that serves as a buffer also in terms of regional and national downturns. And so yes, I mean, we may see years where, I mean, we've been so spoiled in a sense that we had so many years where the order intake each year was far above book-to-bill of 1, and years where we had even more than 1,000 aircraft order intake, each of the two players. But we should not sound the alarm bell if there's a year or two where the order intake does not reach these levels or is even a little bit below book-to-bill of 1. So the point for us, the most important thing is not the order intake per year. The most important thing is deliveries, and there's still the trend that those will be further ramped up. That certainly goes for our, we're in a ramp up for the 320 family and also for the 350. Yes, we pay attention, but and the 220 of course as well. Yes, you see some reasons for concern, but the nature of our business is such that we have a lot of buffering effect from our order backlog. Let's not forget, on the other hand, the defense business is coming back, not spectacularly, but there's clearly an upward trend in defense. Also, military helicopters last year had a remarkable order intake and comes back. So, all in all, I think we are not in a situation that I would call, concerning.
Next question in the back right corner of the room.
Yes, Olivier James from L'Usine Nouvelle. Do you think one day you could invest in a MRTT FAL in United States?
Well, I leave that question to Guillaume because that will certainly not happen. It certainly not happen on my watch. Guillaume.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I know quite a bit about the helicopter business. I'm learning about the commercial airplane business. I have not started to spend time, energy, and curiosity on the defense and space side, or not too much. I think it's an open question. I think we are in the early phases of this very interesting project with our friends here, and there's a lot of potential. So it's premature to answer to the question, but I think it's a fair question. And would we be very successful as we think we can be or we want to be? Then it's a question for the future.
Let me just add one thing. I still don't understand why the most powerful air force of the world would not fly the best available tanker aircraft on the market, because that is what clearly, that's what the MRTT clearly is, recognized by customers all over the world. We won each and every competition except the US and in Japan, where we didn't even bid. So in all other competitions where we did compete, we won. And that sends a very clear signal. So all we want to do, and our friend Jeff wants to do, is to bring the best performing MRTT tanker aircraft to the largest air force of the world. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Next question. In the front corner, let's start with Chris.
Hi, Guillaume, this is for
Hi,
you.
Chris, if you could just wait for the microphone.
Oh, we're back to that. Yes, Chris Sloan with Airways, Guillaume, thank you. I want to ask you, as you look forward at this platform of the 220, how you feel it could evolve and inform, say, the next generation of whatever the 320 family replacement is, or how this platform could potentially be upgauged, as a so-called Dash 500, and what you see the future of that is in the product mix.
It's a very interesting question. Thank you. It's a great one indeed. It's difficult to predict how a product will evolve over its lifetime, and we've seen, what the Airbus single aisle, the 320 family has done. Obviously, there is a trend to go for a bigger plane, more system on board, more fuel efficiency, longer distances, and what I would say is the A220 is ideally positioned compared to the A320 family to make sure we can have those two families evolving in parallel. And therefore, it's very likely that once the 220 has done the ramp-up, is economically viable, and that's a challenge we have ahead of us, and then we can further invest and grow the product, that this is going to happen. We are not yet there. We are at the beginning, at least as Airbus is concerned. We see the very strong potential, The plane, is very well accepted, and it's a very good plane. We are bringing the power of Airbus in many perspectives. Design is not yet the case, but we are supporting, but it's mainly on the commercial side, on the procurement side, on the support side as well. That is very important for customers. And once this success is on track, it will be time for looking at what we do with the product. And we want to have this product being completely part of the Airbus family, and it will be considered, treated, supported, developed like the others.
Thank you.
Sylvain Larocque from Le Journal de Montréal. Regarding the fighter jet competition in Canada, on Monday, Simon Jacques said that there could be an assembly line in Canada for that contract, but it's an 88 aircraft contract, which is big for Canada, but not that big for a company like Airbus. So how realistic is it that you would have a plant in Canada for that contract?
Well, 88 aircraft is big for Canada. It would be big for us as well. So I would not, I certainly not exclude that. We've had, assemblies of various decrees in other countries as well. Think about Saudi Arabia for the Typhoon or Eurofighter jet. We think we can offer a very fine aircraft that meets the requirements of the Canadian Air Force, and I hope that our bid will be thoroughly assessed, and maybe Canada wants to reduce its dependence on the United States a little bit. If that's the case, we have a great product to offer. Together with our British friends, this is a consortium. We work together here, BAE, us, and Leonardo.
Next question in the center of the room.
Steffen Weyer from German Press Agency. Two questions, one concerning the Brexit follow-up. You wanted to store as many parts for the case of a hard Brexit, especially on wings. How many weeks will that last, what you will have on the end of March? I think you aimed for 3 months, but that didn't seem to be possible. And the other question on the A320, you talked about, I think, rate for a month. When will you start producing and delivering, and when will you reach this for a month?
Thank you. I propose to take the first question, and Philippe will take the second one. Ideally, 3 months would have been great, but it is just impossible for our industry, especially in the ramp-up in which we are. So it's more modest. It's in number of weeks what we've been targeting. However, hard Brexit is a lot about uncertainty. We don't know what the friction at the border will really mean and how serious this is going to be. That's what we hate with no-deal Brexit, is that we would be in uncharted territories with a level of risk which is very difficult to quantify. That's why we really believe a no-deal Brexit is a potential disaster, and this is to be avoided by any means. So, but even having said that it's a couple of weeks, we are not in a position to be sure that all of our suppliers are appropriately prepared for a, let's say, 1 month shutdown or something like this. So we did our very best. We are prepared to a certain extent.
Just one follow-up. How is it possible that you give guidance in the middle of February, not knowing when you get wings for all your airplanes?
The question was, how is it possible to give guidance in the middle of February?
I think we used to give a guidance with the market conditions and the economical and industry conditions that are known. And the reason why we want to be able to give a guidance is consistent with the fact that we are saying a no-deal Brexit is a potential, major risk for us, but for many other industries, and not only for Europe, by the way, because the supply chain for aerospace is a worldwide supply chain.
And since the Brits know that we have to give guidance middle of February, I'm confident they sort themselves out until then.
Mary, I believe you had a question?
Yeah, there was a question on the 220 that we said Philippe would answer.
So I think the question was, when do we start the production, when do we deliver the first aircraft, and when do we reach rate 4? So we'll start the production of the aircraft this summer. We will deliver the first aircraft mid of next year, mid of 2020, and as for the rate 4, we should be there before the middle of the next decade.
And, thank you.
Hi, Sylvia Pfeiffer from the FT.
Tell you what, Sylvia, why don't you call out your question and we'll repeat for
I
you.
just had two questions. Just a follow-up on Brexit. Was there any discussion on this conference call that there might be an extension of Article 50? And secondly, we've had quite a bit over recent days about cost-cutting and squeezing suppliers, and I just wondered what is the appetite in the supply chain to offer these cost cuts, in particular on the 1820?
The second question was about extending the supply chain and cost savings in the supply chain, and the first about, Sylvia again? Here we go.
Just on this conference call last night, A, were you on the conference call, and B, was there any discussion that Article 50 might be extended or, delayed?
Well, Airbus was well represented on the conference call, and as I read, it was Phil Hammond who mentioned that possibility. Well, obviously, everything that avoids a hard Brexit is good news for us at industry, and I think we have also clear signs that Brussels would be willing to consider that if there was a clear path forward to find a solution, whatever that would be. On the supply chain, Guillaume, I think, well, I would say, look, I mean, we have these so-called news from time to time. We have constant discussion with our partners in the supply chain, and obviously, if we are able to give them certain incentives, we will expect that we get a return from that. And it's clear that supply chain never tires, nor do we, and we need to become ever more efficient in our production and in the supplies that we need for our assemblies here and elsewhere. So for me, that's no news.
We have just a few minutes left. The next question is with Mary Kirby.
Thank you. Sorry, Mary Kirby with Runway Girl Network. Tom, you mentioned that Airbus's satellite manufacturing work in Florida, supporting the OneWeb constellation, is a new chapter for the company. Will Airbus take this partnership a step further and look to bring OneWeb-supported connectivity to its commercial aircraft on any level? Of course, there's a duopoly right now between Inmarsat and Iridium. Another player could be interesting. Are you thinking about that at all?
Well, that's a very good question. It's a very obvious question, and yes, indeed, we are considering that. We're discussing that internally. I mean, it's not like connectivity is an option. Connectivity has to come for passengers on board, for the aircraft itself, with the ground. So yes, OneWeb is one possibility here, and we're looking into that internally.
And in that same corner of the room.
Okay. Hi, Bill Riles, WKRG Mobile. Quick question. I understand that with regard to the AT220 on the local level, you plan to begin production before the assembly line is actually built. How do you propose to do that? What are the mechanics of that? And does that speak to a certain urgency to get the first aircraft delivered?
Yeah, so I will not get into the detail of our industrial organization, but yes, you are right. We have an urgency because we have customers waiting for deliveries. So we're doing everything we can industrially to achieve that commitment to our customers, and that's what we'll do.
You have another question in the front right corner of the room.
Regarding, maybe for Philippe, regarding the investment of $300 million here, what's the, how much is the share of Airbus, Bombardier, and Quebec in that $300 million? And what's the role of the incentives that you got from Alabama and local authorities here?
I don't know if it's for me, but the partnership is investing around $300 million in the facility. The financing is part of the mechanism which which is part of the investing agreement that we have between the three parties. And obviously we have a net incentives which will be provided as well.
Which you have to ask the mobile folks about if you want to know details.
Okay. And we have time for one more question in the room, if there is one. Going once. Ben Zhang, Business Insider.
Good morning, gentlemen. So news broke last week that the JV between Embraer and Boeing looks to be going forward as their main rival. What are your thoughts on the JV? And if it doesn't work out, what is the thing that will break that JV if it does end up failing?
You're talking about our JV?
The Boeing Embraer JV.
Well, I mean, it's sometimes hard to predict the future, but it didn't take a genius to predict that when we did our combination with Bombardier on the C series and created that partnership, that this move was bound to happen. So we see that coming. I think we are very well prepared by the very fact that we have by far the best aircraft in the 220, and that makes us confident going into this competition. And I'm not speculating about what these guys are doing. We're preparing ourselves as good as possible, and this is what Philippe and a great team behind him, Airbus and former Bombardier people, is going to do.
Okay. Well, thank you once again for joining us.